Winning Blueprint presents.
In the lab room, the market. Jacksonville Jaguars.
Welcome to the market. You're in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the market, the NFL's one-stop shop for all positions related to the field, otherwise known as free agency. Today, I'm here to talk to you about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's a team. New direction. Totally new direction. Yesterday was another indication and reminder of just that. Guys that were just signed a season ago. Guys like Aaron Ross and DeJuan Landry signed to long-term deals just one offseason ago were released. It's a new day in Jacksonville. David Caldwell and Gus Bradley are here to remind us all of that. Gus Bradley is a defensive-minded coach coming from Seattle. He wants to transform this defense into one that is fast, physical, and big. And if you don't fit the mold, and if you're not a guy that he can rely on, that he looks on tape and says, hey, this is a Gus Bradley defensive player, then he's going to cut ties with you. And so this Jacksonville Jaguars team is going to look significantly different in the 2013 season. And that's evident by all the moves that they've made over this offseason. And a lot of the guys that you've been used to seeing as Jacksonville Jaguars, like Rasheed Mathis, like Daryl Smith, probably won't be back. This here is my comprehensive list of every free agent on the market in the 2013 offseason. I'll be using that list, and I've compiled a list of players that I think will fit in Jacksonville and players that I think they need to target. But before you can talk about players that you need to go after in the market, you need to talk about free agents that you have in-house that you need to take care of. And I'll be looking off of my trusty, handy-dandy big board, as you see in front of you, to talk to you today about free agency, about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the direction that I think they need to go in, and I think the direction that they will go in. So I'll be consulting my board the whole entire time that I'll be speaking with you today. And so let's begin talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and their free agency needs. Let's talk about, first, however, the in-house free agents that the Jaguars have in the 2013 offseason. Eben Britton, Derek Cox, Terrence Knighting, Rasheed Mathis, Brad Meester, Daryl Smith, and Jordan Shipley. These are all notable free agents that the Jaguars have coming up. Now look, these aren't all of your free agents. These are just the ones that I've pointed out and signaled as guys that I think are important and could be important moving forward or have been important to you in the past. So they're notable free agents that the Jacksonville Jaguars have up in this offseason. So let's talk about them one by one and talk about whether I think they need to be back, whether the Jaguars will have them back, or whether they need to move on. So first up, Eben Britton. And you look at Eben Britton, and he's a solid guard. I think the Jaguars should have him back, but I don't think they want to pay the money that Eben Britton is looking for. The Jaguars might have one price in mind. Eben Britton might have a separate price in mind. And so I don't think he'll be back in Jacksonville. I think he should be back in Jacksonville. He's been solid. He may not have been what you thought you were getting when you drafted him, but he's been solid nonetheless. And I think that, again, I'm one of those in the thinking of I'd rather deal with the evil that I know than the evil that I don't. You get rid of Evan Britton, you bring another guy in, and he doesn't live up to what you thought he was going to be, and then you kick yourself because you let Evan Britton walk away, and he was solid. And this next guy that you might bring in free agency or via the draft may not be getting it done. And so you never know how these things are going to work out when you make the move. But again, if the dollars don't make sense, then you have to do what you got to do. Speaking of dollars not making sense and having to do what you have to do, Derek Cox is a guy that should be back in Jacksonville. He's one of the most talented players you have on your football team, on your whole entire roster. And you're not bringing him back because in your mind, in your estimation, the dollars don't make sense. And again, here's a guy that's often injured. And so you don't get to see the greatness. You don't get to see the potential as much as you would like. But when he does play, when he is on the field, he's very effective. And he has been for you since you've drafted him. But now Derek Cox is going to hit the market. He's going to command a big payday. And I don't think you're willing to pay him what he thinks he deserves. And so Derek Cox is going to walk. I don't like the move. I don't like the decision. But at the end of the day, it needs to make sense for the franchise. And if Derek Cox asking for $6-7 million a year doesn't make sense to the Jaguars, I understand, and you got to do what you got to do. Terrence Knighton. Here's a defensive tackle that easily could have eaten his way out of the league by now. One time you see him, he's 330. The next time you see him, he's 350. The next time you see him, he's 370. This is a guy that when he's in shape and playing, he can be a difference maker in the middle of your defense. Problem is, you just never know what you're going to get out of Terrence Knighton from game to game, week to week, season to season. And so I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have seen enough, and they're going to part ways with Terrence Knighton, and I can't say that I blame them. Rasheed Mathis, long-time Jacksonville Jaguar. You think Jacksonville Jaguars over the years, you think Rasheed Mathis and Maurice Jones-Drew and guys of that nature. Rasheed Mathis has been in Jacksonville forever. Seems like he's been there spanning about 2 or 3 different coaches. He's been there for a long time. And it's crazy to hear his name not associated with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that will be the case in this upcoming offseason because Rasheed Mathis will not be back with the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2013 season. Brad Meester, here's your center. I think he's a guy that's very solid. Again, nothing special, not going to wow you. He's going to do Yeomans-like work. You need to bring Brad Meester back. I see no reason why he shouldn't be back. I don't see why the Jacksonville Jaguars won't bring him back. I expect Brad Meester to be back with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Darryl Smith, here we go again with another long-time Jacksonville Jaguar. And again, when you get a new regime into the fold, they have no ties to guys that have been here X amount of years. They have no ties to guys who were just signed. They have no ties to past draft picks. So when they come in, they look at the film and they see a guy that's been here for 9 years. They don't see that this guy has been productive and he's been a stalwart of this franchise. He's been the face of this franchise. They don't see any of that. They see a guy who has diminished skills, a guy who's been here too long. It's time for him to go. A guy that's making too much money. And so Darryl Smith falls into that category of a guy that they just feel like, hey, we're going in a separate direction. Now, I was hearing at the Combine that maybe Darryl Smith would be back. We were in talks with him. We're going to try to work something out. I don't think Darryl Smith is going to be back in Jacksonville. This is one of those cases where he's going to be allowed to hit the market. If he does not find employment anywhere else and he has to come back knocking on the Jacksonville Jaguars' door, then something will get done. But until then, until he goes out and finds out exactly what his worth is on the market, Jacksonville won't be talking to Darryl Smith anymore. Jordan Shipley. This is an interesting guy right here because I feel like Jordan Shipley has a lot of talent and he's been bouncing around from team to team around the National Football League. And it was funny because I felt like he was a perfect fit in Cincinnati. They cut him. So then he's on the move now. He's from team to team and you don't even know where Jordan Shipley is going to end up. One day he's with Tampa Bay. The next he's with someone else. All of a sudden he finds his way to Jacksonville. He's very productive for you at the end of the season. I don't see why you don't have Jordan Shipley back. You already don't have a lot of talent on this team aside from your #1 pick a season ago and Justin Blackmon and Cecil Shorts III. Add Jordan Shipley to that list of receivers that you can trust. I think Jordan Shipley is a guy that you need to have back. So looking at positions of need for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cornerback, right tackle, defensive end. I put defensive end in parentheses. Now look, the Jacksonville Jaguars have a host of other needs. But look, they're not going to address all of them through free agency. And that's not what free agency is for anyway. Free agency is a source that you are supposed to use to help supplement your roster, not to build it. That's what the draft is for. That's what the Jacksonville Jaguars are looking to do in this offseason, build their roster. And so the draft is more for that. The free agency aspect is more for supplementing and filling in holes with guys that are young and talented who are allowed to hit the market. So I assume that the Jaguars will go elsewhere to address a lot of their needs, like defensive end, which is why I put it in parentheses. But the cornerback position is so rich. It is so deep. It is overflowing with guys to be signed in this offseason. I don't see why you would go anywhere else but free agency to address a cornerback issue like the Jacksonville Jaguars will have after allowing guys like Rasheem Mathis and Derek Cox to walk. So right tackle and cornerback is what I really want to focus in on. I'll speak briefly about defensive tackle, but I think the Jaguars are going to be aggressive at the cornerback store in the market and on the right tackle rack in the market as well. So let's talk about the cornerback position. Brent Grimes, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Kerry Williams, Mike Jenkins, Chris Gamble, the newly released Chris Gamble, Porter, I'm speaking of Tracy Porter from the Denver Broncos, Sean Smith, and Anton Cason of the San Diego Chargers. So look, there are separate tiers, guys you're going to pay top dollar for. Now, Gus Bradley is a coordinator that came from Seattle, and he likes long, tall, physical corners. Guys with length, guys that can run, guys that can get their hands on you, and if you beat them, they're still long enough, still athletic enough to make a play on the football. He likes physical and big corners. That's what he had in Seattle. That's how he built his defense in Seattle, around big, long, physical corners. So you think big, long, and physical, you're thinking of Sean Smith. You're thinking of Anton Cason. You're thinking of big, tall, 6'2", 6'3" corners that can play at the line of scrimmage. And so a guy like Brent Grimes, I don't know if he would interest Gus Bradley or not. Brent Grimes is a small 5'9", 5'10" corner. Don't know if that's what Gus Bradley is trying to build in Jacksonville. You look at Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, here's a guy that's 6'2", that is long. Now, he's not physical like Gus Bradley would like, but he's a big, long corner that's not afraid to challenge receivers at the line of scrimmage. And Gus Bradley does like that. So I'm thinking more in the mold of one of these corners. I'm thinking Sean Smith. I'm thinking Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. I'm thinking someone like an Anton Cason or even a Chris Gamble who was just released from Carolina, a big 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" corner. That's the kind of corner that Gus Bradley likes. And I think that's the kind of corner that Gus Bradley is going to target in this offseason since you guys are letting Rasheem Mathis and Derek Cox walk away. Now you look at the right tackle position. The Jaguars are in transition. A new head coach, your new GM and David Caldwell, new head coach and Gus Bradley. You're looking to turn this roster over. A lot of the mistakes Gene Smith made, this new regime is going to come in and try to right those wrongs. So a lot of the things, a lot of the moves that they made, they're going to try to fix those mistakes right away. And so right tackle is a position of need for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so I think they're going to try to address that with one of these guys. Now look, a guy like Andre Smith, he's a left tackle. And he's going to cost a lot of money. And I don't think the Jaguars are going in that direction. They're looking for a right tackle. Not so much as a left tackle, as I feel like they have that position already taken care of with Monroe. So I think you're going in the right tackle direction. And if you're looking for someone that's going to cost a lot of money, but probably be higher in production, then you're thinking of guys like Sebastian Vollmer and Eric Winston. But if you're looking for someone in that second tier, not going to cost you as much, but still going to be highly productive if you put them on the field, then you're looking in the class of a guy like Phil Lodeholt, Jermon Bushrod, or even someone like a Sam Baker or a Gosher Cherilus. And so I think That's the target for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this offseason. More or less, someone that's on that second tier. I don't think they're going to try to pay top dollar for a guy like Sebastian Bowman to put on their right side. I think they're going to try to put someone over there that's solid, that they're not going to have to break the bank for. And I think one of those guys, like a Gosher Cherilus, like a Phil Lodeholt, like a Dramon Bushrod, is going to be someone that the Jacksonville Jaguars target at the right side of their offensive line at the tackle position. Now, defensive end, I told you I was going to talk about it briefly. The Jaguars need help. Their best sack man only had 4 sacks last season, and it came from the defensive tackle position, your #1 overall draft pick last season, Tyson Alualu. That can't be. Your defensive ends were non-existent in the 2012 season and have been for a while now. So the Jacksonville Jaguars need help at defensive end. You could go the Cliff Averill route. You could go the Lawrence Sidbury route. A lot of people don't know about Lawrence Sidbury. He's drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, really not given a chance. He's got a lot of potential, a lot of upside. If given the opportunity to start, he could be someone that could make some noise in the National Football League. But again, you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. You don't want to take chances on guys who haven't proven themselves. So it'd be more like a Cliff Averill or maybe a Michael Bennett from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That might be a better fit for you. But I think all in all, at the end of the day, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to spend their #2 overall selection in the first round of the 2013 draft on a defensive end. And I think that's what's going to help them from that department. And I don't think they're going to really try and attack it aggressively in free agency. So that's about it when talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They need to be aggressive, but not overly aggressive. Again, use the draft as your platform to build this team, not free agency. They need to be somewhat of a player in free agency. Don't be afraid to spend money. Test the waters. Go into the market, look around the racks, see if there's anything that fits one of your needs and at the right price. And if so, don't be afraid to toss it in the cart and walk up to the register and pay for it. If you're Jacksonville, the days of being cheap are over. Spend money, get better, and become a good football team. You've started all over. It's brand new. New GM, new head coach. Time for the Jacksonville Jaguars to start making smart, shrewd business decisions and start picking some talented football players. This team is void of talent. You need talent. Free agency is one outlet. So is the draft. Don't be afraid to go out and spend some money in free agency if you are the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's going to do it for the Jacksonville Jaguars here in the market.
Jacksonville Jaguars, the market in the